All right, so this week there's a few housekeeping items we need to get out of the way right off the bat, and then we're going to get into today's video, which I'm talking about why and how I got so heavy into meth, even though at first I absolutely hated it. Okay, so number one, we're doing a 2-for-1. We're testing this new microphone, and I'm also going to do the 2 announcements. Number one, I discovered the community tab here on YouTube, and so I'm hoping, I'm so sorry it took me that long to discover it. I'm hoping to build more of a connection with you using the community tab so that I can ask you things or post things and hear from you in a little bit more, I think it's a little bit more private than the comment section of the videos. Correct me if I'm wrong. Announcement number 2, I've started another YouTube channel. In a nutshell, the reason is because this, my main channel, I want to keep it very specific to humanizing addiction. So all of the content will relate to that. And that's a pretty wide range, but then just taking it a little wider is art. And so my other channel is all about my documenting the whole process as I try to make art a profession. So make money doing art. I don't know. It doesn't have to be all the money I make, but to where I start earning money by doing art, which is like a huge dream of mine. And it's one that I've sort of let go many times and then pick it back up and let it go. So I'm just keeping all of the art stuff over there. And I think that makes sense. I think you'll agree. You're welcome to join me over there. I would love to have you. But this way, the people that come just for addiction aren't seeing art and it's getting all meshed together. I explain more on the intro video, so I'll include that in the description of this video if you're interested. So let's get into today. So the easiest place to start would be to talk about the very first time I tried meth. I was a teenager, so I had to be around 17, 18 years old. And at this point, the main drug I did was marijuana, alcohol, and then I was starting to get into cocaine, but I wasn't super heavy into it yet. So it was a very casual thing, just hanging out, and somebody offered it. I tried it, we all did it, and then I just remember the energy was different. It was like everybody was super talkative and in an annoying way, almost like nobody was really hearing each other, just talking just to be talking in circles too much. And I also am an introvert, and I'm also just like a really laid back person for the most part. Not when I drink, but at this point in my life, I was still more like, I'd say more like my true personality than the drugs hadn't really hijacked a lot of my natural characteristics at this point. After doing it that time, I remember being like, I don't like this. And the other thing I didn't like about it was different than the other drugs. See, marijuana, cocaine, alcohol, all of them have the same sort of thing. Like cocaine makes you go up, but it doesn't make you go up so much to where you can't come down to sleep. Because I was snorting it. So with meth, we smoked it that time, and I remember I couldn't sleep for like, it was like a long amount. It was probably at least 6-7 hours. I wanted to sleep, but I couldn't sleep. And so I remember absolutely hating that about the drug. And even later when I got into my heavy use of meth, I didn't like that about the drug. That's called the tweak. I did not like that about the drug. And so it's insane to think how long I did that drug while not liking the vast majority, because that's the vast majority of the high is the tweak. The rush, which was the part that basically that's the part that I was obsessed with, the rush. The rush only lasts for the first few minutes. And I'm not talking about smoking, I'm talking about injecting. So, but the tweak lasts for 7 to 9 hours. So yeah. So at least 7-8 years has to pass before I try it again. And in that 7-8 years time, my addiction has gone from something that's casual and fun to something that I do because I just want to feel okay. I want to feel like myself, and I'm under the illusion that the drugs are making me the best version of myself, which isn't true, but that's what I believe. And so I do the drugs to get myself to that level of like feeling my best, being my best. At this point, I've gone through 7 stints of rehab and I'm out. Well, I'm not even going to go into that much detail. I'm just going to say this is the part of my life where I'm halfway across the country. I'm completely by myself. I have no friends or family in this state. I've been plucked from one state and put in another state to sober up. That's what I've agreed to do. I don't have, my full heart is not in this. I'm more than anything, I'm just excited about a relocation. I'm under the impression that I can sort of get away from all my troubles, get away from all my problems with the law, get away from all my social problems, all of my legal problems. I can just sort of pick up and start somewhere fresh, and that will be what I need, a new beginning. So I'm in the rehab and I meet somebody, and right off the bat we click. Like, you know, the type of person when you meet them, you feel like you already know them. This was that, and it very quickly turned into what they call in the program is 13th stepping. So we're both in halfway houses. We're both trying to sober up. We both know we're drug addicts. We know that about ourselves. We're trying to sober up, and as we meet, we're sort of inspired by each other to do something different. To, like, my heart was not in getting clean, but when I met him, all of a sudden I kind of wanted to be better. I kind of wanted to be clean. I kind of wanted a life with somebody that had love and meaning and value, and not just the stuff I'd been doing in the streets and the just surviving, just existing, feeling nothing, feeling empty all the time. That was starting to wear on me. That was starting to feel old, but I didn't know anything else. So as I keep going through these rounds of rehab, I'm starting to learn more about addiction, how it works, and what a relapse is, and drug dependency, and how our brains are wired, and just how these habits are formed, and all this sort of stuff is, I'm starting to learn more about it. And we go to the meetings, we go to AA, we go to NA meetings, because that's how the programs are formatted. You get in a bus, and the men's house and the women's house, and you're not supposed to, like, at the meetings you can socialize, but when you're back at the house, you're not supposed to see each other. So it's kind of old-fashioned in that way. It's crazy, after all these years later, even when I talk about this stuff, my body still seems to have like this visceral reaction. And that's hard, and that's why I'm making these videos specific to the drug meth, because I got so heavy into it. It also is where I reached my bottom, and that is such an emotional place for me to go back to. This is all the more reason I'm happy to start the other channel, because I can kind of give myself a little bit of a balance from week to week. So I do this, and then I do that, and then I do this. All right, let's get back on subject. So long story short, we meet, we kick it off, we start 13th stepping, which we know what that means. We're not supposed to do it. We're hooking up, we're having a relationship, we're doing all the things they warn you not to do. We're in a high-risk relationship now. We're focused on each other instead of bettering ourselves. We think we're bettering ourselves, we think we're inspiring each other, but what we're failing to realize is that all of our recovery is sort of put onto the other person. Like, so you can probably predict where this is going. We get very tired of all the rules that the halfway house has, and to be fair, most halfway houses are run by legal criminals. That's just my personal opinion. We won't get into that in this video, but the halfway house has a lot of rules, the halfway house has a lot of demands, and the halfway house does not have a lot of benefits for healing. So we gladly leave. We get an apartment together with another person that is a new friend slash acquaintance to both of us. And we're all really new friends and acquaintances, because my boyfriend at this time, he's from another state, I'm from another state, and so is the other, the third person might not be from another state. Actually, I don't know where he originated from, but I think he was from, I think he was from another state too. So we've all kind of decided to get an apartment together, and within like I don't know, probably a week or two. The roommate has relapsed. He's on one, he's doing meth, and it doesn't take long for my boyfriend to hop on that train because unlike me, who my drug of choice wasn't meth, so I wasn't too tempted. I'm like, okay, dude's like lost his mind. He's doing this, he's doing that, he's going to his job high. He's like, he's on one, right? And I can see that because I'm not high, and I'm like, that doesn't really look good from this perspective, being somebody that doesn't like meth. My boyfriend, on the other hand, that would be like my version of like somebody doing lines and lines and lines in front of me and drinking shot, 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 shot. And I would be like, my mouth would be watering, even if they were falling down drunk. Like that would entice me because those are my sort of drugs that I love. So my boyfriend fell into a relapse too. And what I learned about the experience was it's very easy to want to do something when somebody else is doing it, and their passion for that, even if it's something that's deadly or if it's something that's completely safe, if their passion for that thing, it kind of can influence you very easily. It can rub off on you. Like now I'm like, all right, like you're really excited about this. You're loving this. Like, oh, come on, just try it. You're going to love it. Like, this stuff's different than the stuff you tried. You didn't have the good stuff. All right. So now I'm on it too. And I have to admit, I'm actually liking doing it with him far more than I liked doing it when I was a teenager, because there's this element of just like, we do it and we're together and we're just like really close and connected. It feels different. It feels more intense, you know? But that's probably because we're in a relationship and it's all lust. The lust and the infatuation stage is like overtaking us as I'm kind of in the lust and infatuation stage with this new drug. Well, I tell him like smoking it, it's okay, but like, you know, let's do some other stuff too. Let's drink, let's smoke, you know. So we're doing weed, alcohol, meth, and then I think Percocet come into the picture. And before long, we realized that we need to start selling so that we can maintain our habit here, so that we're able to keep this thing rolling. So we start selling out of the apartment. And it's not long after this that my boyfriend gets me to shoot up. So I started injecting it, and once I started injecting it, it's just, that's like love at first sight. That was like everything came full together for me right then. It was like, okay, I get it. Like now I know why you love it. Now I love it too. I love the feeling I get when I inject it. But like I mentioned before, the downside is all of that time after you inject it, you have that like over-energized, frenzy, sort of anxious, paranoid, insecure energy that's overtaking your personality. And me being somebody that just like, I want to sleep, like I want to sleep when I want to sleep. I want to relax when I'm high. Like I don't want to be my heart racing and feeling like people are after me and just all of this other stuff that comes with the paranoia. Like I didn't love that, but I loved the feeling it gave me in those first few minutes. It just made me feel like I had never felt before, an intense feeling, so intense that I had never felt anything like that before. This felt stronger than love. This felt like something just indescribable. So because I don't want anybody to hear that and think, oh, I need to go try that. Here's what happened. The wheels started to fall off, okay? You start using to that level, and I'm using to the level of somebody who was using chronically, who was a chronic meth user. This is who's giving me my drugs. He has a supply that is very potent. He has a dose that is very high, and I'm almost going from 0 to 60, like right out of the gate. And so the wheels can very quickly start falling off, because the thing that I didn't accept or understand about addiction, the thing they tried to pound into my head in AA that I was just like, I don't think that's true. Addiction is powerful, baffling, cunning, progressive and fatal. So that progressive part was very vital for me to understand. And I only came to understand through doing. So what that pretty much, oh, my throat's making all these weird noises. I'm just going to keep going. Progressive, I don't think that was in my vocabulary yet. I wasn't grasping what they meant. It's saying that all three of us were drug addicts in different parts of our addiction when we came into sobriety, into recovery. When we relapse and go back on the drugs, we're picking back up at the same place we left off. So it might feel good for a few days. You're in that sort of rekindling of the romance of your addiction, but very quickly you're gonna plummet right back to that horrible state you were in where you decided, you know what, like, this is shitty, I need something better, I need something different. You got to that place where you're like, I'm going to give this a try, like, this isn't working. And not just that, you pick up there and it progresses. And addiction doesn't progress upwards. Addiction progresses downwards. You know, drugs are fun in the beginning for a reason. It's like they're enticing you, they're alluring you, they're bringing you into this whole nother world, the underground. Wow, all this exciting things happen here. People are so beautiful, everything's so glamorous. Look at the cars the dealers are driving. Look at how quick you can get money down here. You see all the flashy elements, but you're on the top layer and it may take you years before you get to the next layer and the next layer and the next layer, but you are going down. You're not going up. So that's sort of like the trap of it. And that's the thing, is like, most people that they get addicted, they're not like, yeah, I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be a drug addict, I'm gonna be a junkie, I'm gonna be a compulsive criminal, or whatever your addiction leads you to. Like that isn't what you think of when you start. Like for me, oh yeah, I'm gonna end up like a junkie, I'm gonna be injecting this shit every day, I'm gonna love it, I'm gonna be obsessed with it, it's gonna be all I think about all the time. When I'm not doing it, I'm gonna be thinking about doing it next, and I'm gonna do anything to get it. I don't care about people, I don't care about my own family, fuck my mom. No, when I started, I was like just thinking I was being rebellious, I was being carefree, I was living like how I envisioned I would be in the 70s if I lived during that era. It was like, fuck the system, fuck tradition. I just want to do things my way, and the world doesn't like drugs, but I like drugs because they're fun and they make me feel free and all of that. That was the beginning, and I think that's sort of the beginning for a lot of people, is just whatever the concept is in their head and their heart, that's where they start. But a long-winded way of saying addiction is progressive, and because I didn't understand that, fast forward just a few months and we're getting booted out of the apartment. Thankfully, the manager just sits down with me and says, like, the other tenants are telling me you're selling out of the apartment, so you've got 2 days to get all your stuff and get out. And I'm over cocky, I'm over arrogant, and I'm thinking I can convince her that that's not what's happening, so I deny it. No, we're not doing that. Please just let us stay. Of course, she doesn't want to hear it, so I quickly, all right, fine. I walk off kind of pissed off, and we decide that we're gonna steal a car and we're gonna go to another state. Again, that's gonna be the answer to all of my problems. I'm just gonna relocate. Now we're gonna relocate together. Well, it wasn't long before we both got locked up, and he wanted to take all the charges. I fought that. The police accepted it because he already had one strike. We're not gonna get into all the details again because we've been there, done that. So I get out, he's still locked up. I continue to use. I don't use right away, but I start to use again, and I start using them, I keep injecting. And one of the hardest parts for this process was other people that hadn't injected before, they were coming to me and asking me about it, saying things like, oh, you make that look so good. Oh, what's it feel like? And I could just tell by the level, like how they were questioning me, I could tell that they were wanting to do it. They were wanting to try it. I'm making them curious to try it. This is the point in which I'm basically becoming a free walking billboard ad for just how powerful this stuff is that I'm using every day. I'm overusing. And I remember even being in that fucked up state of mind, how I still was like, I didn't want this, what I had. I didn't want that for them. I didn't want that for anybody. It could have been my worst enemy. I didn't wish for what was happening on my inside to happen to them, because all they could see is I'm injecting it, and they see that euphoria, and they see that's the romance, that's the love, that's what appears to be love. But I'm telling them, like, look, don't do it. Once you do it like this shit is gonna own you. You are not gonna be able to stop. You're not gonna, it's all you're gonna do. It's all you're gonna think about. It's gonna completely consume you. And I just remember basically framing it like that. Don't do it. You'll regret it. Once you do it, it's gonna own you. Game over. They didn't listen, but I didn't help either, because at the time I was selling. Now I want to talk very quickly about how it's so easy to judge somebody that is at that stage of addiction, whether it's alcoholism, whatever it is they're ingesting. You see the end result. You see them at their bottom. You see them on the street. You see them on the news robbing businesses. You see them on the news going to prison, killing people, and you judge them because you think, they're a monster. They deserve that. Well, they had a choice. They should just quit. Why don't they just say no? Just walk away. That's on them. I know, because I used to be harsh like that to people too. I used to judge people I didn't know without understanding anything. And it's very easy to judge somebody just based on their worst mistake or their worst condition or their worst symptoms of a disease that you don't even understand. It's easy to judge somebody when you don't know them. It's easy to judge somebody when all you see is negative aspects of them. What you don't understand when you see somebody in that lowest low, that sickly condition, that almost death-like state, is that they're in survival mode. What they're doing is they're continuing to give themselves what they need to feel like okay, to not go into that deep sickness. Their body is kind of like telling them what they need. And that's how it was for me. I was in survival mode. I couldn't be bothered with social etiquette or norms or kindness or empathy, because all I could think of was feeding that addiction, feeding my body what it needed to not go into that deep, dark sickness. But like I said, addiction is very complex. And a lot of times what people don't understand is if you're somebody that's dependent on drugs, you're a polyaddict like I was, or you're an alcoholic that is to the stage in your addiction where you're totally dependent on those drugs. You know, when you don't use them, you're very sick. Okay, well, detoxing, just saying no, just walk away, just quit, just cold turkey. It's just that they're leaving out one of the most important things, which is if you quit cold turkey and you don't wean yourself off, you could die. You could die from quitting cold turkey if you try to do it without medical intervention. So I would just say to anybody that you have a family member that's out there suffering and you yourself want to quit, whatever the situation, whoever it is, if you do want to quit, if you do want to help them quit, don't have them quit just cold turkey without any help. Get to a hospital, get to a detox. These places are in every community, I'm most certain. Find the nearest hospital if you can't find a detox. They can safely get you sober. It will take several days, or it did in my case. They'll give you medication, or they did in my case, to help with the effects of coming off of that stuff so that you're able to do so in a safe way. It's still going to be painful. You're still going to be sick as fuck, but you're not going to die. They're going to keep you safe from that. Once you get out of detox, don't hold yourself to such a high standard that you feel like if I fuck up, if I drink, if I do this, then just be so hard on yourself that you go all the way back to where you were. Because remember, it's cunning, it's baffling, it's powerful. I believe once I start using logic and reason, can't be in the same room as my addiction. So nobody can really talk me out of what I'm doing. I have to be the one that decides for myself when I'm like fed up enough to where I'm like, okay, yep, I'm doing this. Like, I'm going back in recovery. I spent so many times relapsing that my therapist gave up on me. My AA sponsor gave up on me. I relapsed so much that people weren't comfortable with it. They didn't believe that recovery was possible for me, not long-term recovery. Oh, she can do 15 days. Oh, she can do 2 days. She can do whatever, but she's not cut out for long-term recovery. That was the messaging being sent to me. And I would say to that, that's like getting somebody in your doctor's office or your, okay, you go to the doctor, you find out you have cancer. If you go back to that doctor and they say the cancer's back, they don't say, you're such a piece of shit, how could you let this happen? It's cancer's a disease, and having relapse is a part of that. I believe addiction is a disease, and having relapse is a part of that. It doesn't have to be for everybody. Some people, it doesn't, but a lot of people it does. So if other people are trying to tell you like, oh, this is all your, yes, it was your choice to use again once you're sober. Once you're sober, you do have the choice again. Now your body's no longer dependent on the drug. You have the choice to use again. Yes, you did that. You made the mistake. You picked up. Now you want to quit. But don't beat yourself up for it. And don't accept when people try to shame you, because shame is one of the only emotions that has absolutely zero value when processed or felt or any of that. Just release the shame. Don't even fuck with it. I think I'll just end by saying that, remember, if you are dealing with addiction and you're in the point where you're fighting it and you're battling it and you want to survive and you want to live and you want a life that is like of your dreams, something better, there's something better out there, you can feel it, you almost have a taste of it, just that you're getting that glimmer when you receive a round of treatment. You get that first 30 days, you start to feel a little bit like your true self again. You're getting these little, what I call like moments of clarity, or maybe you're having a spiritual awakening, whatever the case. Don't ever forget the addiction. What they say in AA, that holds some serious weight. And I try to remind myself all the time not to get overconfident, not to get too comfortable, just to remind myself that addiction is just that, not to get fed up with people that are still in addiction and they're acting outlandish and you just can't understand how could they be like this, because addiction is baffling. It doesn't make sense. It's cunning. It's the only fucking disease in the world that tells the person that has it, you don't have it. That's cunning. That's cunning as fuck. It's powerful, progressive, and fatal. And so it is literally going to kill you. It wants to kill you. That's the end result for so many that struggle with addiction. So as shitty as it is kind of to remember that, it's also empowering, because once sober for however many days, you have your power back. You have that ability to say no again. And yeah, well, I wouldn't wish addiction on my worst enemy. I would want recovery for my worst enemy. I would want recovery for anybody that wants it. I would wish that on them. I wish I could give people a taste of recovery, long-term recovery, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, just so that they could get kind of hooked on that and feel what it feels like and to want to keep going, because it's so worth it. Now, if this is coming off really harsh, that's not my intention. I'm speaking from my heart and I get really passionate about it. But just know that this channel, I'm going to keep with this sort of content, and hit me up in the community tab as I start to use that more. If you want to give me feedback or interact or whatever it is we can do over there, I'll learn as we go, but I'm excited about that. And if you do want to follow my art journey, I'm sure it's going to be a long, hard road, but I'm actually really excited for that, and I would love to have you on the other channel. All right, until next time.